podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
Hello folks, DM Vince sitting in here. Today I'm sitting alone. I have a special guest on with me to talk about a new game coming out. It's a very horror-based type game, but David Hill Jr. of Machine Age Productions here. Some people might recognize the name if they are a World of Darkness fan, as he has many credits in many of the various books from White Wolf, from Hunter Reckoning all the way up until probably Hunter the Vigil and beyond that. At this point, David probably has a resume that's like 2 miles long, but welcome to the show, David.
Hey, how's it going, Vincent?
Good. Long time no speak. David has been on various podcasts of mine in the past, and I've always supported David's project at Machine Age Productions, so he has a new project coming out, a new book he's writing, or is it partially done, David, or?
It's about a quarter of the way done so far. It'll be I'm finishing it basically throughout December and January. It's going to be completed.
Awesome. It's called The Gospel of Sarah. It has a very, very Da Vinci Code vibe to it, and I know you were trying to hit that on the nail. And looking at the pre-production, I guess the pre-preview that you have out with the 6 pages, or is it 8 pages?
Yeah, 8, but it's the cover, so basically 6.
Yeah, so 6 to 8 pages, it really has that old school Bible, Da Vinci Code, horror gothic thing going, conspiracy thing. So tell us a little bit about this game, David.
Well, it's sort of like somewhere between like the Da Vinci Code, let's see, Umberto Eco, that sort of thing, and then you take it to the other direction of like Hellraiser. It's a psychological horror, so it's like if the Da Vinci Code met Silence of the Lambs, maybe. Yeah, so it's sort of inspired, like the mythology of the game is inspired by an apocryphal book from the Bible called the Book of Tobit. And basically, my story takes that and turns it on its head and says that the Book of Tobit was sort of like propaganda because this human woman, Sarah, seduced an archangel, and the church didn't want that to happen. Like, they didn't want to admit that happened, so they rewrote the story and basically said, "Oh no, she ended up a good wife, and everything is perfectly fine. You know, nothing to see here, folks."
Yeah, right.
And so Sarah found she seduced an archangel, and he got angry and basically stopped helping her. So she ended up with one of the princes of hell, Asmodeus. And she found this like world of pure pleasure and pain, and she basically is trying to entice people to indulge in their darkest desires. So she spreads these the sort of like puzzles and challenges through the world, and people know whenever they encounter these things. So like you might pick up like, you know, a crossword or something, and it's just whenever you do it, you know, if you do this in the right way, you'll have everything you've ever wanted. Things will be perfect. And you do the crossword, nothing happens. But you know, maybe I just did it wrong. Maybe there's something, and so you keep doing it and keep doing it, and it starts to slowly drive you mad. And eventually, if you find out how to do it, you come to realize that what you really want is punishment. Like, you've been so desensitized by your desires that nothing works anymore. So then you are basically harried by demons who want to drag you off into another world, and you sort of have to reconcile wanting to go with them or trying to be their agent and tempt the others to go and to sacrifice them.
Awesome. So what type of system is this based on? I think I read D100 system, I believe.
Actually, no. It's
no?
It's a difficulty with this one because I like to call it a diceless system, but it does use 2 6-sided dice, but they're barely used, and they're not actually used in task resolution. They're used to move your character on you're on a board, because your character sheet is a board.
Right.
yeah, it's sort of weird. But most of the task resolution, the actual things that happen in the game fiction, they're diceless, and it's all about basically like narrative agreements. So like if you do something, I'm trying to think of a good corollary. If anyone did you ever play or read Wraith?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like if you had a persistent shadow guide, and instead of them like having points to spend and stuff, basically the other players are going to step in and they're going to be like, "Can I do something to this scene?" And if you say no, basically you're not going to be able to progress through the story. Like you're not going to be able to progress through your character's journey. But if they say yes, they've got like all kinds of weird things that they can do to screw with your path. So it might be like, okay, I'm having an argument with my father. That's this scene. We have this argument and everything's going, as planned, and I'm getting what I want and blah, blah, blah. But I know that he was abusive, so he's going to beat me if I don't get what I want in this scene. I need to do something in order to overcome this. So one of the other players is like, all right, can I add a subtext to this scene? And you as a player, you can be like, okay, well, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead, do that. Add a subtext to the scene. And so the other player they're trying to corrupt this scene and just make it terrible. So the other player might be like, let's see, sexually charged.
Oh, jeez. And
so you're like, dude, I have to do a sexually charged scene with my father. And they're like, yep, you asked for it. And at that point, you can opt out. And you can say, screw this, guys, that's not happening. Or you can run with it and you can shift the scene to make it work. If you shift the scene to make it work, you end up getting what you want. You progress down your path, you move on the board, and you get closer to opening that puzzle. If you don't, basically there are consequences. So it's all about like giving up control and just letting terrible things happen.
Interesting. So it's kind of mostly is a sit around tell storyteller type system when you throw it back and forth and the person tries to pretty much screw you and you try to get out of the situation to move forward is what you basically said.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of like like improv game type thing. There's a lot of different things that the players can do. Like there's a lot of different sort of mechanics, and they all center on giving different amounts and different types of control to the other players. Like it might be that if like another player might step in if the scene goes badly. Say like you're in a scene where things just hit the fan, your character murders her wife. One of the other players might be like, "Can I turn that into an alter ego scene?" And you're like, "Okay, yeah." I want that point. So what that happens then is they say, all right, so what happened, your character didn't kill her wife, but she thought about it. And it is eating her inside, and she keeps seeing this over and over. She really wants to make this happen, but she's been resisting it. And this is what's eating her inside. And so like there's like that psychological aspect. But basically the whole idea is that you have to be willing to give that up. I figure what horror really is temporarily like losing control. And in the theater, that's easy to do because you go in, you're like, you aren't in control. The director filmed this thing and it's going to go the way it's going to go. And you're just along for the ride. In a role-playing game, you can't really do that because you're supposed to be in control.
Right.
Yeah. So this is a way to give up that control temporarily.
Now, David, is there an impartial person like a GM or a storyteller, or everybody's on equal grounds?
Everyone is on equal grounds. So the thing that it's sort of like a free market of narrative. If you screw someone, the protection against that is that they will get back at you. If you do something that is completely like out of line, then you will have other players who will be able to intervene and do the same thing. Also, you have the option to opt out. At any time, you have certain points that you could, like you have basically tokens, and you spend one of those tokens, and you're like, I'm withdrawing. That's not happening. This is a little disgusting. And so you can do that, but basically, like, that's your limited resource. Like that's something that you only have a certain amount of times that you can do that, and you really want to save those for when it matters.
They're kind of like plot points to get, or drama points to make things bend your way or get out of situations. Then okay.
Exactly. They're basically safe words for the scene.
Now, would you compare this game to games like Don't Rest Your Head or something? Because it kind of reminds me of that game a little bit.
Yeah, it's got little shades of Don't Rest Your Head. It's got shades of like Jared Sorensen's Lacuna, that sort of thing. It definitely has that kind of vibe.
And how many people could sit around the table and play this? As many as you want, or is there a minimum or a maximum?
There's no upward limit, really. Like, I would say that probably it would start to get weird around 7 or 8, just because it would take too long and you would, it would be hard for everyone to get interacting. But that's going to be the case with any RPG, basically. Like, once you get a lot of players, it just bogs down. You can play it with 2 players. In fact, that's like one of the ideal situations. It's definitely good for like a couple players who are like, very familiar with each other. Since there's a little bit of trust going on there, but you can play it with between, I'd say 2 and 6 was the ideal.
All right, and you said now your character sheet's a board that you're progressing along from the start to, I guess, the finish to solve the puzzle. You said. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so there's most people are familiar with backgammon.
Yeah.
It's a really common game. The game that it came from is literally the oldest game that we know exists in humankind. It's called the Royal Game of Ur. It was played in ancient Sumer. Mm-hmm. And so this old Sumerian game, it's the oldest game that we know. This is the board for Gospel of Sarah. I've modified it just a little bit in order to fit our game mechanics. But basically what it kind of looks like, a lowercase I. You sort of like go up one side of it and then you go in, and then there's like a circle at the top, and then you go back down the outside. So it looks like a lowercase I. And when you're on the bottom part, basically that represents reality. That represents like rational thought. And then once you get up into the top part, that represents like the labyrinth of your mind. That is the depths of madness. That is when your perceptions are warped and reality is strange. And so what you got to do is you go up, you walk the labyrinth, you step into this other world that you don't understand, and then you walk out. And with that knowledge and with that experience, you're able to open the puzzle. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. But basically, yeah, when you open the puzzle, it's not the end of the game. It's like basically the end of like an act, because you get to make a choice. Whenever you open the puzzle, you're gonna basically like draw a slip of paper out of a bag, and the slips of paper are everyone around the table. All the characters, their character name is on the piece of paper, and then their character's like deepest, darkest, most guilty desire. And then there's a fate. Like basically, if a fortune cookie told you were gonna die, that's the fate.
Ooh. And
if you draw your own, that's cool. Like your character gets the desire. Like if you're like, okay, I want to bury myself in a pile of cocaine, the puzzle gives you that. It lets you indulge in this terrible dark thing that is dangerous, but your character just wants it. If you pull someone else's, you don't get that. But what you get is a choice. Your character can either take the dark fate, your character can die, whatever terrible death it is. Maybe the player said, you're going to fall in a puddle, and there's going to be fish, and not piranhas, just fish, and they're going to slowly eat you alive.
Ooh.
Well, that's terrible. I don't really want to do that. What's my other choice? Well, on that slip of paper, you've got the character name for the other character, and you have their deepest, darkest desire. So if you choose to resist the demons that are going to tear you apart, you have to tempt the other player into indulging that desire and giving in to the puzzle.
Huh.
It's a real feel-good game.
Yeah. I could see that. Wow. And this game, how long is the average game have you played this for? That it lasts 3 or 4 hours maybe, or?
It depends on the players, really. It depends like how many of them. A 2-player game is probably closer to a 2 to 3 hour game. A 4 to 5 hour game is probably what you can expect from an average size of 4 to 5 type style. And it also depends on how far you want to go, because we allow for like ensemble play. So if your character dies, like if you get torn to shreds or whatever, you can step in with a new character. Like you are able to do that. There's actually rules for quickly throwing a new character into play. So you can even make it, like it's good for persistent play too.
Now for the characters, is there any real design to the characters, or they're just the sheet and that's pretty much it?
You are defined by your desire.
Right.
And so the way that it works is you're defined by your desire. That is most of character creation, and you're defined by that and how you are tied to the opening scene. Like the first thing that you do in the game, the outset of it, the players are basically setting up a terrible death, where it's not any of your characters, it's someone that all of your characters are somehow tied to, and it's like in most horror movies and most like crime TV shows, at the beginning of the show, the first couple minutes, they show you someone dying terribly of this thing.
All right, so David, take me through the beginning of the game, setting it up, making a character, and we'll continue from there.
So basically, what you do, if you've ever seen like any crime fiction, you watch your CSI, Law and Order, that sort of thing, or even like Supernatural. The first thing that they do is they show you a victim. Yeah. They show you a situation where a victim dies is victimized, whatever, by the culprit or by the thing. And that's what we do to make our characters at the beginning of a Gospel of Sarah. You are going to, as a group, you're going to come up with a scene where someone dies from a puzzle. They are drawn away, they are destroyed, and this sort of sets the stage. So everyone is going to contribute little bits to the scene. So you're sort of doing like a campfire story, where everyone is going to add a little bit, and you're going to build this character. You're going to talk a little bit about them, and then you're going to talk about how that character finds the puzzle, is frustrated, and then ultimately dies. And you're going to use this to frame the desires that your characters have. You're going to like pull them or choose them. And that's going to define your character, and then you're also going to use the scene to attach your character somehow to it. So maybe like, okay, so the camera cuts away. We see a beer bottle and a bottle of Valium, and the beer bottle is knocked over and spilled on the floor. That beer bottle, my character was a bartender, and last night I was the last person to see her alive. I served her that beer.
And then and that player could jump in and say, I was the person sitting next to her in the bar and tried hitting on her or something?
Exactly. And everyone, like, you don't have to be, like, tied close to them, but you have to have touched them in some way. Like, your life has to have meshed with them. Like, maybe, you were the crazy street creature that yelled at her as she was going home or whatever. But everyone has to have had some sort of association so the puzzle can, like, spread virally to you.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then, like, basically, like, later, if your character dies, you can bring in another character, and what you do is you take the same desire, but you warp it. So, like, if you had a desire for violence, it might be like a desire for revenge. I hate my father, gotta kill my father, or whatever. If your character dies, you might have a character who's, like, a sociopath and just is a sadist, wants to hurt people, and so that's a new desire for violence. And you're gonna basically, like, pull in an archetype. So it might be like, okay, I'm going to be like the hard-boiled detective this time. So you pull in the hard-boiled detective, you mesh it with that desire, and you've got a new character. You can jump right into play.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like it. It's very storyteller-like, and it's very, like, kind of, you could play anywhere at any time, and
it's very easy to play as long as you have somewhere to put down the board. You can't, like, it'd be hard to play standing up, basically.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, you probably could concoct some little mini board thing on a piece of paper to hold in your hand and make a check mark on it or something, or.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that. It would, take a little bit of ingenuity, but yeah, it's real easy to get into. Takes a basic familiarity. One person should be at least familiar with the mythology, but the system itself, like, you can just do it on the fly with a group of people.
Be perfect for an in-car game going to, say, Gen Con.
It would be wonderful for that.
And where could someone read more about the mythology of this?
Well, the mythology is going to be basically, I'm going to be posting that throughout the Indiegogo campaign. Right? because basically as I'm writing it, I'm posting my daily progress. And some days I'm going to be doing the fiction, the gospel. Some days I'm going to be doing the game design of it. Sometimes I'm going to be doing layout and art, all kinds of stuff. But basically throughout the month, I'm going to be doing more. Right now there's 2 pages of the gospel itself in there. It's got a page of actual like biblical text, and then it's got the Song of Sarah, which is Sarah praising the demon Asmodeus, and sort of that's the jumping off point. That's the introduction for the book. So I'm building off of that.
And so MachineAgeProductions.com is where they can get more information.
Yep.
And is there a link on there for the Indiegogo?
Yes, there is, and there will continue to be throughout the month. Every day I'm going to be posting more information. So if you go to MachineAgeProductions.com, you will be buried in a swath of Gospel of Sarah.
I'm just pulling up the website here so we can direct my people who are listening here. Yeah, it's right there. First thing I see, Gospel of Sarah. Perfect. And then I see there's some information about you. We could follow you on Twitter at David Hill Jr. Yeah, David Hill Jr. Follow you on Facebook.
David Hill Jr., yeah.
Is your wife writing any of this at all, too, or...?
Yes, actually, she's writing some of the fiction. Because it's like it has like weird, dark, sexual undertones. I needed a female voice for it. Otherwise, it would just be some dude talking about creepy, sexy stuff, and that's kind of weird.
Creepy in itself, yeah.
yeah. So I definitely wanted a female voice.
Cool. Are we doing anything? Is Machine Zeit done, or is that still going on strong?
I'm actually doing a second edition of Machine Zeit soon. It's going to be a box set, probably. It's going to be a really weird little thing. It's going to be a box set. It's like a small 6x9 card box type thing, and it's going to be a lot more streamlined, a lot simpler.
Yeah, I remember you were really pushing that back, and I would want to get a copy of it. I never did get a chance at Gen Con to pick it up because you disappeared on me, and when I went to go find you. But
Gen Con is a very hectic time for me.
And I couldn't find you or your wife, so I was like, damn it. The take I got of it, there was a virus that spread and half the world just died, and they were trying to investigate what happened to them, and I was like, I want to get in on this.
Yeah, like the some of the world governments built these like space stations at the edge of the atmosphere in order to quarantine people, and then like now they're haunted. It's a very, very raw, very simple concept, but it does Alien very good.
I love the quote about the dude the game machine is so badass it slowly walks away from an explosion, never looking back. I love that quote for the game.
Yes, I had to put that there. He said it, and I was like, I've got to quote you. I can't not.
Well, great. How much do you suspect the game might be when it comes out?
The Gospel?
Yeah, the Gospel.
The Gospel is going to have 2 forms. It's going to have it's probably going to be 20 and 40, I'm thinking, for the 2 different editions. The normal one is like soft cover. It's full color, but it's like normal paper stock. And then the special edition is a leatherette with a gold stamping on the cover, kind of like the old Book of Nod from White Wolf. And then the inside is going to be like photo quality paper, like heavy stock.
I'm just curious, what exactly is going to be inside the book? Is mostly mythology and the gospel. There's no real rules in there, correct?
Well, the rules will be present, but like it's sort of like a hands-off rule system, but it'll be in there. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fiction, a lot of setting, a lot of evocative text. It's not going to just be like full color. It's going to be like 100% full color. It's going to be a lot of visuals. Everything is going to be like in character. So it's going to be a lot of like scrawled notes from people going insane, like that sort of thing. There's a lot of like warped text, a lot of warped photos. Like I'm drawing a lot from like a little bit from like the old clan book Malkavian, a little bit from like House of Leaves, the new White Wolf clan books for the New World of Darkness. Like that's a huge inspiration.
Yeah, they really went really big time with those books.
Yeah, that's the production level I'm going for here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we expect more with the Gospel of Sarah, or is that this core book is going to be pretty much it for now?
It's hard to say. If the game does well, if the crowdfunding campaign does well, I definitely have other ideas for it. Like my first thought would be like the Name of the Rose or the Scarlet Letter, like doing a historical adaptation where we talk about like how the gospel surfaced in medieval times or during the rise of the Puritans or something. I would love to do expansions like that.
I could definitely see some novels being written out of this too, because it sounds kind of cool, the backstory.
Yeah, I'd really like to do one. If I get the time, I would love to do it like a novella or even just a short story collection.
You should definitely hit up Chuck Wendig to get in on this too, because he'd be perfect to help you out with it.
The one that I haven't talked to him at length about it yet, but I want to get wood income from White Wolf or from the White Wolf Freelancer pool. He did the Testament of Longinus, and he did a lot of really great stuff for White Wolf. But he has just this massive knowledge of historical religion, and he's just brilliant. I'm thinking about trying to get him for a short story.
All right, if you can, cool.
And Chuck is, of course, a shoo-in. I would love to have Chuck work on it.
Yeah, I just, for two names always pop up when I think of things like this, Chuck and Stu Wilson, too.
Yeah, I've actually worked with Stu a lot. He worked on Machine Zeit with me.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've done a lot of White Wolf work together. We're pretty good friends. He's supposed to be coming to the United States in about a week or two. I'm really excited because he's going to come right down here. We're going to have drinks. It's going to be awesome.
You're going to have drinks with Steve Wilson, the American hero?
Yes, Steve Wilson, the American hero. Yes,
yeah, I love that. I love that nickname. If anyone wants to know the reference to that, go listen to the Darker Days podcast, and they'll explain that for you. Anyway, David, thank you for coming on and explaining this for me, and hopefully some people will go over to the. Let's see what the website URL for Indiegogo is. I lost the page. Indiegogo.com, I think, / Sarah Gospel Sarah.
Something like that, I think. Yeah, Gospel of Sarah. Yeah.
Okay, so go there and pledge all your money to David. No, I'm kidding. Pledge at least $1, $5. Just help David out, get this game going. It's very promising, and I trust. These games like this are hard to come by, and when they do come out, it's just like, whoa. I mean, think about Don't Rest Your Head. Go look that up. That game has amazing ratings, and it's similar to what this concept is, but this one's better, so. That's just limited to dreams and screwing with people. This is limited to like more and has mythology behind it and like cool stuff. So
this is a really ambitious project. Like we've done a lot of games now. Like this is like our 7th major game, but this is like a very experimental, very weird stuff for us. So I hope it does well because that tells me that the market wants different. It wants like really, really like ambitious, weird things.
Well, I know. I want that. So, yeah. So all you gotta do now, David, is make a Walking Dead RPG. No, I'm kidding.
I would use Machine Zeit for Walking Dead. I think that would work really well, actually.
Actually, that might work really well. You're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for taking the time, David. I know you have to get going. I appreciate it. And MachineAgeProductions.com, David Hill Jr., thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Roll for initiative.